pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Colleen?
Haveman. Here. Pusey.
Here.
Hirsch. Here. Kissinger Rowe.
Here.
Long.
Here.
Scuball.
Here.
Swinty.
Here.
Baloo.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here. We have a quorum. Adoption of the agenda. Entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Second.
Second, Baloo.
Okay, a motion is second to adopt the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted. Public comment. Do you have any public comment this evening? Anyone? Okay. Consent agenda items. We have the approval of minutes from the regular meeting of August 9th, 2022. Approval of minutes from the closed session on August 9th, 2022. Approval of the invoices from August 10th, 2022 to September 9th, 2022. Employment and contract adjustments, which is replacement staff, resignations, above pay, and new above pay position. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move.
Second?
I'll second. Haveman.
Okay, a motion, a second to approve the consent agenda items as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, staff reports. Who's going first? Guy?
For the elementary school, I realized when I sat down that I did not link my strategic plan, so that's something I will share with you tomorrow. What I did do with my staff report is comment on different areas that we're currently working on in Mee Elementary, the teaching and learning pillar. We have explicit instruction. We're doing some professional development that starts this week. That's something that CESA 9 is going to support us with as we move through the first semester, or first half of the school year. We've done some work with our schedules at the elementary level, trying to make sure that we have the right number of core minutes. And along with that, we added WIND instruction, what students need, trying to focus on individual students and trying to make an impact as much as we can in both the areas of ELA instruction. That's where we're starting, and then we're going to shift or move into the math area. We needed to have a starting point, so we decided that we would start with ELA. Redefining Ready, it's something we're going to talk about a little bit more as far as how it covers the 3 buildings, so I included that. And then we're working on the whole child, or whole student pillar. So I mentioned that we did a restart of Patch of Pride, and I think we got some consistent student instruction across the building in different areas. So, and then both our tier 1 and our tier 2, I think we've done some work on in preparation for this year and continuing it, and we'll be working on it throughout the year. But those are the things we're currently working on. So that's the pieces of the strategic plan I shared tonight. So, do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Guy?
Guy, I was wondering with your WIN time, are all staff members involved in that? How does that?
It's pretty much all hands on deck. I mean, we're looking at it, as far as what we can do. We have a group, I'm not going to say grade level, but a grade level that sure was impacted. We can see the impact of what happened with COVID. So we've talked about how we can best address their needs, and that may mean, we've talked about Wendy, Teresa, and I all taking a group and trying to make sure that we're meeting needs. So I would say it's all staff on deck. We're looking at schedules and how to make that happen.
Thank you.
And I was just curious too, Guy, on those protected minutes, the 75 protected and 90 protected minutes, is that the frequency of that or the sum total, is that daily?
That's a daily.
Okay,
We want to make sure that our core instruction is sound.
sure. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? I guess just one comment. Thank you for spelling out "win" for me.
Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Works, thank you. Next.
We're going in order now.
Okay.
Much like Guy, as you can see, my board report, same thing as you're gonna see, is laid out in our work relation to the pillars. So just to kind of recap a couple quick things, our August PE that we had with our staff before school started focused a lot around the teaching, learning, and relevance pillar, and that's all laid out in there for you. And we have a lot of really good things accomplished. One of the great things that we did was, as part of our middle school vertical alignment, we set up quarterly 6-8 department collaboration dates. So that gave our 6-8 staff time to partner together and collaborate as a middle school social studies or middle school math, middle school science department. So those dates are set up, which is really good. I also linked in my middle school scorecard. You can see that as well. Other things that we're continuing to work on is building in some of the other important points that we got out of our middle school data dig into some of the collaboration, building leadership team agendas, and individual work with staff, and I'll kind of touch on a couple examples of those later on. But some of those are some specific things that we just talked about as a staff with that dig that we're going to continue to work on. Also included in there, Dawn planning through ACP for the middle school field trip experiences for our kids. So you can see 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade what they're going to be doing in the next 2 months for some field trips. The only change is 7th grade is making a slight change to their trip based on what I put in here. The museum is actually closed, so they're not going to be able to go to that. So they're working on some alternative places that they could potentially go. That actually kind of lines up with their science curriculum. One of them that they're looking into right now is KI Mobility in Stevens Point. So they're kind of getting in contact with them to see if they can do that with the planetarium as well. As Guy mentioned, we'll be talking about very soon, when we're all done, the Redefine and Ready cohort that all 3 of our buildings are going to be involved in. We're really excited to talk about that with you guys. Again, as Guy said, we also in the middle school, under the whole student pillar, we also did a Hatchet Pride Day where we took the second day of school, the Friday, when all of our grade levels were here, to kind of go around and teach kids building wide expectations in different settings, and it was pretty cool. I took a group, we had our custodians involved, they took a group, so it was really nice for our kids to hear from different people in our building and to know that all adults in the building have a role to play, so that was really good. Also, we will be hearing more about, like I said in last month, the Life Tools grant that Dawn got. She's actually going to another training for this grant on Friday of this week coming up, and she'll have more updates as that work kind of unfolds. And I think she'd probably like to present that to you guys for herself, but I already mentioned that, so that'll be more coming with that. I linked in our newsletter that you can see. And then just a couple of cool things that we're going to try to do some kind of community engagement and a couple of fun things in the middle school. And I'm mentioning this because you might receive a phone call or email from me at some point wondering if you want to participate in our mystery celebrity guest announcement person. So basically once a month we are going to have someone either from the community or school come and do our announcements, and the kids are going to try to guess who it is and figure out if they can, some of them they might be able to recognize by voice, but we're going to email clues to the homerooms and have it be like a competition just to get some different people in and to create some engagement. And we partnered with the high school Hatchet Innovations class to do some giveaways for the winning homerooms when they email in their correct answers. So that'll be something we're going to be doing not next Friday, but the Friday after. We're going to have our first celebrity mystery guest. So that'll go hopefully well. And like I said, you might be receiving a call from me at some point to lend your voice to our announcements. So just
Call block.
so have fun with that. And you don't even have to come into the building. You can actually record it and you can play it over the loudspeaker too. But we're trying to figure out how we can sneak people in without the 6th grade cheating, because they have the windows to the office. So we might just smuggle some people in. We'll see how that works. We're also getting underway for planning our Veterans Day Assembly in November. And the last thing, 2 things, district workforce. We have over our PE day and talking with staff. We have re-established our middle level building leadership team, which is going to be great. So we have representation from all of our areas to make some building level decisions. So that's going to be more on that related to our strategic plan as well. And then the other thing we're going to try in the middle school this year is to do a TMS staff spotlight. So 4 times a year, and I listed the dates there, we're going to pick 2 staff members at random to do a spotlight on them and share that out with the community, with our social media pages. We're going to put it on WJJQ, and then we have TVs in the middle school that put up different announcements and advertisements and different pictures and things during the day. We're also going to have those staff members highlighted on there as well. And it's just some kind of cool questions that the staff are going to answer that are going to kind of like help the community and students get to know them. Like just some things like if you were going to pursue something different in your life, what would you do? What was the last show you binged? I mean, just some kind of funny, cool questions that people get to know our staff a little bit better. And so we're going to do that 4 times a year. So, sorry, I probably rambled too long. Any questions for me?
Any questions?
That's a great idea, Stacy.
Yeah.
Great ideas.
Sounds great, just like it's pre-COVID.
How's
How's that?
Right. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to be highlighting just a couple of things from the various pillars throughout the board report, but if you have questions on anything, feel free to ask. Start with the teaching, learning, and relevance pillar. I just want to revisit, because we've talked about it a few times now, was the rollout of our new learning management system called Canvas, which was a lot of work for our staff. And just want to tell you that it's off to a really good start. And I think that's really coming down to the fact that using a learning management system for the high school is not something new. We've been doing it for a long time. This was just a different tool. And there was a small group of people that put a ton of planning and effort into prepping our staff, creating materials, being available for questions. So just a quick update. It's off to a good start. We're rolling it out well. Students are integrating with the new system just fine. So it's going as planned. The next part I wanted to mention was dealing with numeracy and literacy. That's something, obviously, that's a focus of our district and our state. So at this point in time, we're in the initial stages of looking at last year's data. We're going to be getting now this year's new data through our FastBridge assessment shortly. Already looking at students that we want to basically target for those other types of interventions that we have available. And then we'll confirm all that information once we get our initial data points back from the testing. But plans are already in place. Groups are already implementing some strategies and action plans that they're prepping for. So really good discussions occurring right now with those various groups. I won't go into detail again, the redefining ready piece that's been mentioned a couple times, because we'll do that in a few minutes. But knowing that the teams are, the plan is in place of how we're going to assemble teams to accomplish this, and we'll talk about that more. But I put a sub-bullet in there because each year I've reported back to the board about a grant called the Korean Technical Education Incentive Grant. And so it's been going on since, I believe the start date was 2013, 2014. And this is just something that I think is really important for you as a board to understand when you're working with fellow legislators, that this is something that affects our district, and we're making great use of these funds, and you're seeing it in our student performances. And basically what occurs is you submit your students who have earned these industry recognized credentials by the Department of Workforce Development by class, by graduating class. So you can see that's why it's listed as the class of 2021. And you can see that we submitted 85 student certifications earned. And the one thing that I found was, I think, just really something that Tomahawk should be proud of, our students, our staff, is that when you look at the report that's generated by the Department of Instruction, Wisconsin is in the upper 10% Tomahawk is in the upper 10% of all Wisconsin high schools that submitted certifications, and that's schools of all sizes. So this is something that's been a priority for us, and it's something that we're continuing to grow, and we've been having meetings already this year with looking at how we can expand that. But I just think that's something that goes along with that concept of when our students leave, regardless of whether or not they actually use that industry certification, it shows that they have the ability to learn at a high level, and they have a commitment to do those things and even carry forth that learning into whatever career they go into. So again, I just wanted to highlight that for you as a board so that you can continue to promote that financial source coming back to us to continue to build our programs. One last thing that I wanted to highlight was just dealing with our plans and something we've been doing but are going to continue to try to grow upon is using our local communication sources to get information out to our community about what's occurring in our school. So we've really been taking good advantage of our district social media, as well as our 2 local media sources with WJJQ and the Tomahawk Leader. And really what our goals are is to continue putting out, whether it's something that's larger in scale or whether it's just something that's occurring daily within our classrooms, giving our community a snapshot of that. Whether it's a basic discussion that's occurring within an ELA class, or whether it's something like we see with the incentive grant information. We want to continue to put that information out regularly so that those people that are consuming that content get a glimpse of what it's like to be in a school today. And then how much maybe it's evolved since their own experience, and also all the great things that our kids are doing with staff. So that'll continue to be a highlight for us, and just trying to do even more in a better, more strategic way of using those media outlets that we have available to us. So that's something you'll see more from us throughout the course of the school year. So questions on any item?
Any questions? I guess just a couple comments, and it's for the 3 of you. Is I like this format that you're putting it in with the strategic plan as part of it. Being a person that worked on that strategic plan, it's nice to see how you're using it and what you're doing in each of the areas. It makes it much easier if people ask me, are they using this thing? What is it sitting on a shelf someplace? I can show them some of this stuff, and I think it's very valuable. Second comment I would have is I'm glad to hear that you're getting stuff out to the community. Whatever you can do, I don't care if it's newspaper, radio, whatever, about what's going on in the school and things that are going on, I think is very good. I just think that we need to know, the community needs to know what's going on, and I compliment you on trying to get that information out. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I would second what you just said, Ron.
Just a thought. What about table tents at restaurants? Do you know what I mean? Table tents, little things like that. Just a thought. Because there's a lot of people, older people, who sit at those restaurants, family restaurants and places like that, the coffee shops. Well, no, I wasn't referring to you.
Yeah, right.
But you are older than I am.
Oh, boy.
Only physically.
Oh.
Oh, boy. Okay.
All right.
Now,
Okay, please.
Unless you have more questions.
No, thank you.
So for pupil services special ed right now, our busiest time is kids coming out, kids coming in, all kinds of IUPs, transferring records, getting all those things set. So we've got a lot of kids coming in. So we've got trying to get a handle on that, where kids are at, having meetings so that we can understand where the kids are at. And then with our nursing services, we've had our nurse going around, and any students that have health plans or special needs going around working with teachers and training them on any kind of meds, monitoring, things to watch for, symptoms like that, so that the individual teachers are prepared for any students that we have in their classrooms that might have a need arise. Behavioral planning and PBIS, like the principals talked about, we worked with the PBIS teams to get some really good boot camps roll out, but really talking about kids and teachers all being on the same page and having that consistency on knowing what to expect. So there's some pictures out on Facebook of that, so it was kind of fun to see all the different groups implementing those activities. We also, during in-service days, we had our school psychologist that's coming in 2 days a week, and all of our special education teachers, because we weren't able to find a full-time school psychologist. We had them doing some academic testing that typically a school psychologist would do to refresh that. They've all been trained in at some point in their career, but just so that they're refreshed with that. And it honestly helps them understand their students better, performing some of those tests themselves, so it's a benefit to them as well too. Not only being able to do it themselves, but then know how to interpret them and understand with the help of a psychologist too. So just making everybody understand that process together. What nobody talked about, which I was kind of surprised I didn't put it in my report, was we had Ryan Mendler come speak to our whole staff as part of our kickoff to kind of set our tone and our year and how we interact with kids and staff. There was a lot of good feedback from it that I got, and maybe Wendell's going to talk about it too, I'm not sure in his, but it's a good way to kick off our year and get everybody in a positive mindset, thinking about how we interact with the kids that come through our door every day and meeting those needs. We've had our behavior consultant come in and work with our elementary staff on coming up with plans proactively to get kids started off on the right foot, and we will continue that once a week. It's three weeks a month, 1 day in elementary, and then 1 day at the middle school. Usually by high school, we have a few issues that we work out with counseling, whatever, but we usually don't have that need for a consultant at that level. And Stacy also brought up Mrs. Huseby talking about the grant she got. I actually have asked her to come speak at the next board meeting to highlight a people service area. So she's actually going to come at the next board meeting and talk about that grant so that you can see more and spotlight the good work that's going on there. Then teaching and learning, Teresa and I have been working together to address reading and math as part of the strategic plan. To look at those reading and math scores and help teachers really disaggregate that data and understand which lagging skills and work on improving those areas in teaching and math, and the more frequent progress monitoring, and how they can use that data more regularly to drive their instruction and if what we're doing is really working. Questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
But the last couple weeks in the teaching and learning department, it has felt a little bit more like educational technology support. Because magically, all the students and the teachers get in the programs they need to be in, and they get logged in, and they start accessing their materials. It didn't feel so magical this year. There were some glitches along the way, but also we still have a stream of materials coming in and getting those distributed to classrooms, but otherwise it's really going smoothly. The beginning of the year for staff seeming to get up and going with their programming. New staff, we've spoken about a dozen new staff we've had this year, and I just want to say they have been an excellent crop of teachers to work with. And they are a wide variety of experience coming to our district. I think that speaks very highly of who wants to come work here. I do also find it very interesting that the staff that are attracted to the Tomahawk School District come for a variety of reasons. Some is our geographic location, and I talk to staff over and over again about how they want to live here, to have the lifestyle here. And I think that's huge, and we keep in mind that when we hire new staff, that we are that type of community for teachers. This month we held a mentor-mentee meeting that focused around mentoring conversations, what coaching protocol can look like, meaning how do we validate what our new staff are going through, how do we clarify and understand what they're going through and what their needs may be, and then how do we move them into finding solutions for themselves and supporting them along the way with what they need. And we have an excellent group of mentors that are partnering with our new teachers. And so I want to thank them so much, because that, even though they get a slight pay, that is time that they're putting in each week above and beyond their normal teaching schedule. Wendy referred to us working together around trying to support initiatives at every building to support the strategic plan. This week we planned with CISA and then we rolled out some of what those options will be for supporting that professional learning and the work. So you'll hear about that throughout the year. Principals were on board with the plans that were proposed and we're really grateful to have a strong CISA in the area. I also want to give kudos to the multi-level system of support team. And you heard about wind time in the elementary, and there is a crew behind the scenes that's trying to grapple with data and grapple with our high numbers of students that are not yet proficient or advanced. And as the teachers are getting their classrooms up and going, the multi-level system of support team is trying to help them assess a ton of new students that we have coming into the district. And you're going to hear over the next couple weeks about our data and about things we're trying to do to improve in the area of math and literacy. The students that stay in our district and that continue to be in our district improve greatly. When we get students in that are of high needs, it kind of saps us a little bit, and we take a deep breath and we have stepped back and we said, okay, now what's our plan of attack? Because we are welcome all and we take students from where they're at and we want to grow them, but it doesn't stress our resources. So I just want to give kudos to everyone who's making this year great. And right now, because nobody else speaks to you, the multi-level system of support team was going to support that win time and then help us grapple with our data and help us celebrate our growth. Do you have questions on my scorecard or anything in my board report? What the teaching and learning scorecard really looks like is a plan of work, because we really support all the buildings, and then ultimately our numerics are reflected right on the district scorecard.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Wendell, do you have anything?
Just a couple of things. One, you will see there is a athletic director written report that was submitted. That's an update that you will get each month. You will also see that Mr. Parsons has an activity scorecard that will have some measures as well as we move forward. If, when you guys get those in your board packet, if you have questions, let me know. If we ever need to arrange for Scott to be here, we can certainly do that, but typically he's going to be at a ball game or have other things going on in the evening. With that said, you will see the links in there for both the district scorecard and the buildings and grounds scorecard. So we have just about every aspect of our district reflected in some sort of a goal setting and measure structure within our strategic plan. I'll echo what Teresa just said. The director report cards typically look a little more like a plan of work, but their measures are reflected not only in the district scorecard but also within your building scorecards as well in many ways. So they're very well intertwined into what's going on in each building. Also piggyback a little bit on what Wendy mentioned. We did have Brian Mendler here. A key focus of that is relationships. Our strategic plan is really built around relationships, and Mendler's message was primarily aimed at our staff and their relationships with all students, regardless of what behaviors and different things they're seeing, but it also extends to relationships with our families and our community at large. So it was a great way to kick off a year and well worth having him be here. He was a very engaging speaker and led us through a really good day. And then the last thing I'll mention, we do have, and Deb, if you want to talk about this, please jump in, because I don't want to steal your thunder on this one, but Deb arranged for Sarah Godlewski, our state treasurer, who she met at the WEPIN conference, to come and present our common school funds in person this year. She's going to do it much like a press conference, so I've been working with her representatives. We picked a date. It'll be September 28th at 1 p.m. I will send a calendar invite to all board members. If you want to attend that event, you certainly can. It'll be roughly 25 or 30 minutes. She will present our common school funds, say a few words, and we'll also hear from, I'll say a few words, as well as Paula Norman will speak to how those funds are used throughout our district and how beneficial they are as well. So I'll send an invite out to you, but I did want to make you aware of that. That's all I had to add. Is there any questions on the building and grounds or the district scorecards?
Any questions? I guess I just have one, well, a couple, I guess. On the athletic report, Wendell?
Yeah.
Maybe if you could, the next time, I would like to see participation numbers. What's the participation in football, volleyball, cross-country, swimming, not only high school, but the middle school? Just what are the participation numbers? I think that would be helpful to see that. And then I guess one last thing I would ask, if it's possible, when they have a JV football game, could we get a printout, a one-page printout of who's on the team? Because I go to the game and then I don't know who these kids are. And I'd like, you know, varsity games, you see it, and basketball, or you see the varsity and the JVs, but I guess I would like to, if they could, doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a one page, here's the kids and their position, that kind of stuff. That'd be, I think other people would like to have that too.
Sure.
Thank you.
Just FYI, that's a little bit, I'll speak to that from being the JV head coach. I mean, that's a little bit harder than the varsity one because our roster fluctuates quite a bit, our numbers vary, but, you know, I'm sure we can probably get that.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Okay, redefining Ready Initiative update. Who's taking that? You all. All right.
So our goal today was not to dive into the weeds about redefining Ready, but basically just take an opportunity, 5 minutes or less, to provide big picture overview, some awareness about it, so that as we start to reference it more throughout the course of the school year, you have some context. So we did provide just a couple of visuals for you to take a look at.
You might have to turn it on. There's a switch on the side.
Thank you. I never had one with power today. So when you hear the term redefining Ready, what we're talking about is kind of this umbrella terminology, okay? This umbrella phrasing for this all-encompassing culture of how we view our students. And the idea of ready is they're going to leave school and they're going to have to be ready for whatever life presents them next. So this is kind of this overarching phrase again. And so what we're looking at is, you know, there's 3 main categories that redefining readiness breaks down into: college readiness, career readiness, and life readiness. And basically what this movement, it's a national movement, it has a lot of traction, especially in Wisconsin, with this idea of that, you know, we want to use measures that go along well with our strategic plan of indicators of how we're doing to prepare our students, because for a long time, students were just viewed as a test score. And while that test score is important, it's a small fraction of what we're doing with students when they come to school every single day that prepares them for life. And so one of the things that some of the other members will talk about is just how we can communicate those pieces, but ultimately we want to continue to use this movement, this culture, to move kids forward so that when they leave, they can say that I am college ready, I am career ready, I am life ready, I have metrics that prove it, I guess, in some manner, that speak to that experience that I have and that I've written, and I can feel confident when I leave high school going off into the workforce and into the world of socialization. So you can see on the bottom there's some other embedded types of concepts of critical thinking, problem solving, innovation, collaboration. And you'll see as the other members speak to these pieces that those are easily infused into this culture about having our students prepared.
So Ryan gave a very good intro to this, and I guess when Ryan and Stacy invited me to their meeting to talk about this, I always assumed that redefining ready was more of a high school thing. I had no idea that the elementary could play a huge role in this, or an equal role to the other 2 buildings. So we looked at some of the example measurements that we could use, attendance rates. I mean, you can read them all up there, but I think it's just important that all 3 buildings will be part of this. These are some of the measurements, and what else? Oh, and it ties, I mean, I think when we talked, it was a lot about tying into our strategic plan, those not being two separate things, that they all tie together nicely.
So kind of to build on what Guy was just saying, like those were some examples, and part of our work that we're going to be starting actually on this Thursday, we're all going to see as part of this cohort, is looking at our local school and what metrics we want to pick that works best for us. So that's part of that as well. When you're looking at this, one of the things, like Guy was just saying, it started out as a high school initiative and it's expanded into the middle and elementary levels as well. And one of the things that kind of spurred from this movement in the state of Wisconsin was the DPI changing up their report card a little bit. So you can see there's 2 screenshots that we put on there of just some things that are added into the DPI report card that comes out, talking about like examples of post-secondary preparation, and they look at measuring advanced courses, dual credit, industry credentials, things like that. Also some information about participation in arts courses. Those are all things that are in the DPI report card now. That actually kind of like took root from this movement of redefining Ready starting in Wisconsin. So that's kind of how that all came about. And as Guy had mentioned, and Ryan, a lot of the indicators that we are looking at and that we're going to go through and pick are all going to be things that are also going to be, as you know, indicated in our strategic plan. You know, one of the things that we looked at, you know, in the strategic plan is students' attendance at school. Well, attendance can be, you know, a lot of relationship, you know, kind of indicated on how students feel connected to school and activities, and not just athletics, but all different kinds of activities, whether it be choir, band, forensics, drama, all of those things play a role in how students feel connected to school. So that's part of, you know, it ties directly into the strategic plan. And as part of this process, what we're going to be doing is also creating a local report card that will be something that's in addition to our state report card that comes out from the DPI. That will be a good communication piece to our parents and community of, like, you know, Guy said, all of the good things that are going on in the school other than just one singular test score. So that's, you know, ultimately, once this cohort is done this year and we start picking out these local measures, we'll be able to have a local report card in addition to the strategic plan that can communicate those as well.
So, next steps going forward, and Stacy covered a lot of them in the last slide, but just to reiterate, we're starting with a cohort at CISA 9 this week, and that'll span over the course of the next several months. We're going to have to develop a process to educate our families, our students, our staff, our community as to what redefining Ready is and its importance. We'll have to identify those indicators at each building level, develop a process to assemble teams at each building level, making sure that we think about all of those different components along the way in order to complete the work, develop a process of collecting that data so that we can effectively measure the outcomes, and then finally develop that local report card. What is it going to look like? So we're excited about this initiative, looking forward to the work. It's going to be a process, but it's going to be a great one.
Will there be an annual report, or will it be once a semester? As a time limit to put out this yet?
The report card itself would be coming out at the same time that the state report cards come out.
Okay.
But you'll see that many of the indicators that we anticipate selecting are also going to be infused into the strategic plan. That you'll get those regular progress reports on the action steps.
Good.
And that's the thing that we've kind of touched on throughout the last year and a half, 2 years, is that when you see some of these measures, you'll see we're doing that, and that's good. The process and the timing of bringing this together now is to bring it all together and make sure that we can demonstrate its connectedness, through this cultural piece, and showing that to students and families and community that it's all interrelated and that it's all strategically being done together. So we've got a great start. This is just taking it to the next level.
And I think to build on that as well, the fact that now it's truly a K-12 initiative. I think that ties everything together to show, like, how is the elementary school eventually affecting what type of graduate you're putting out? Like, they all play a role, so I think that that's important as well.
Any questions?
Who will you be working with at CISA 9? Do you know?
There's various
I-
team
They've
members.
got a great staff there, I think. I'm glad they're here. And I think you've all been working very hard, and it shows. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm glad to see this. I think it's very important, Guy, that the elementary is ready for the middle school, the middle school's ready for high school, and eventually they're ready to go whatever they decide, whether it's college, workforce, whatever. I think that's very important. And again, I would communicate these measures and results as much as we can. I think that's very important too. So, good luck.
Thank you.
The ERISA 3 update?
Speaking.
Okay.
So as part of the ESSER 3 funds that go through 2024, we're required to come back and update the board and the community on any changes or modifications to that plan. So if you recall, the ESSER 3 funds are to address learning loss from COVID or any health and safety considerations within the building. So the plan essentially hasn't changed from when we presented it last spring. There's only minor changes in the section on your notes that you see with the 73%, and that's our teaching and learning and addressing the academic needs of students. So what the change there is, the director of teaching and learning was in there previously. That has come out and gone back into the general fund. And then an interventionist switched in with that, and then also the addition of the alt ed paraprofessional at the high school to address the credit recovery and graduation procedures to make sure that those kids, because we had an increase in students needing that, so we were able to maintain that from our ESSER 2 to our ESSER 3 funds. But other than that, all the numbers, the rest of the numbers in the 20% and 7% are the same. There's no change there. It's just the 73% we shifted to staff members. So we monitor that, Wendell, Sandy and I, and Teresa as well. We brought in some, she's been back on it, and we can monitor that and see where our needs are, what our data is showing us, and then as we go forward, if we need to adjust anything in there, then we come back to update you on where we're at. Questions?
Wendy, these are total packages, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's salary and benefits because we have to include the whole thing. Great.
Anything else? Okay. Thanks, Wendy.
Yeah.
And entertain a motion to approve the updated ERISA 3 plan.
I so move.
Second?
Well,
A motion, a second to approve the updated ERISA 3 plan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Summer capital project update. Wendell, I think you're doing that?
Yeah, so Arlen supplied me with all this information. So over the course of the summer, he was able to have roofs number 7, 8, 9, 14, and 33 replaced, which was in line with the original plan to get 5 roofs done over the summer. He also was able to remulch our playgrounds. In fact, I think the football team played a pretty big role in spreading that mulch and giving back and putting some of that work in as well. So, and there was some stuff on Facebook I see highlighting that as well. So the mulch around some of that playground equipment, as it gets packed down, it becomes obviously less safe if a kid were to fall and that sort of thing. So they do have an approved mulch that they have to purchase and then get that spread out around swings and any of the playground equipment that needs it. We also had the high school and the field house floors resurfaced this summer, which is, I believe, done every other year. I don't believe, maybe it's done every year, but that got completed towards the end of the summer. Currently working on filling some potholes and some other repairs. As you can notice, there's spots within our road and our blacktop that consistently get chewed up over the winter months, and we have some repairs to do each year there. There's a few bigger projects that are on the docket to be completed. One is the LD switchboard, which is that main electrical panel that's located in the elementary. We have everything lined up to get that done. It was just a matter of getting the new switchboard and contractors lined up to do that work. So that's going to take place over spring break. High school gym bleachers are going to be replaced. Now those had fallen out of code and were in disrepair. So we do have bleachers. That's going to take place sometime this fall. I don't know the exact date, but that will happen as well. One of the boilers will be replaced. That will happen this fall as well. Waiting on contractors and what their timelines to get that done. And then we will be pouring a sidewalk outside of door 1.5, or is it 1A? I don't know, Stacy, what we're calling that door in particular. 1.5, okay. So this is the new route which we had discussed at the last board meeting to get our middle schoolers out to that back playground instead of out front, which is also in line with our safety plan. So that will be getting done in the first week of October, and that pretty much lines up what he was able to line up over the course of the summer.
Okay. Any questions on the summer projects? Okay. Proposal for public access to the fitness center?
Okay, so, and this is a double. This is not only on this proposal that was supplied in your board packets, does it have access for community members, but it also has outlines the staff when this is available to staff as well. This is, I believe, an attachment on the board members or on the board report, if I'm not mistaken, so it is viewable.
Yep.
Okay. So what we're proposing for public availability would be between the hours of 6 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. Monday through Friday on days that school is in session. With the understanding that there would be some days where the fitness center would need to be closed if our athletic teams had a larger function or something going on in there. Any of those times, if it were to be closed, would be posted and communicated at least 2 weeks in advance. We would have a small fee that went along with that basically would cover a background check as well as a membership card that would be issued to any participants. So there's a waiver that would need to be signed, and there would be a small fee, $10 a month or $90 for the school year that would be required. And then what we'll do if this is an approved plan is we will get this on our website along with contact information for anybody that's interested. They would be able to reach out to the district office or to Scott Parsons, our activities director, for more information on everything that they would need to do. Staff availability continues to be 6 a.m. through 6 p.m. and that is free of charge for all staff members and their families. And then the only thing that we ask is between the hours of 7:45 a.m. and 3:45 p.m. that staff members only use this during times where it's on their duty-free lunch or their prep period. Any questions? We had also, I should mention too, currently within this plan, we would have the pool locker rooms available for any fitness member participants to use if they wanted to change. And those are currently already being utilized for adult use for people in morning swim.
And my understanding, Wendell, is this is similar to the, how the pool is open to the public?
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So it's a very similar type plan.
Yep.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, is the strength coach been made aware of this, or is he involved in the development of this?
He was not involved in the development of it, other than he's in there in the morning. So I will, if it's an approved plan, the next step would be to work with him on any details.
Wendell, I assume that the waiver will be approved by our legal counsel and also by our insurance company?
Yes.
To make sure that the district is, relieves itself of liability?
Yep, correct. And it'll be the same waiver that we require of our staff currently. We'll utilize the waiver.
Wendell, you don't have public hours after school at all then?
Can't see you, Ann, I'm sorry.
I know.
What's that?
You don't have any public hours after school?
Currently, no, because we don't have it staffed with our current weight room supervisor at that time.
So my question to follow that up is, so we allow our staff and their families to use it until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. How are you gonna answer that question to the public? If it's available to the staff, why can't it be available to the public?
So
I just
basically.
want us to be prepared to
Yep.
answer the question.
Yep, and as we worked with both Arlen and Scott Parsons on this plan, the idea is our current employees, obviously it is a safety piece, but more so than that, it's, our staff members currently are, trusted with having access to our building, trusted with being in those places, in terms of the general public having free access to it without anybody being in there, I think could be problematic.
So the answer to that question is, in after-school hours, you don't have somebody who's monitoring that?
Correct. That's correct, yeah.
I think that I see on number 10 for the rules and regulations, there's no athletic bags or any kind of things. You might want to put on there, please bring along a lock, that you can lock your items in the pool area. Because I think some people are going to say, well, I don't have anywhere to put it and I don't,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Yep, yeah.
I know that was the case with the weight room when it was upstairs. People would leave their bags lying all over, so.
I'm all for opening the weight room to the public, but I would feel more comfortable approving this plan if we had input from the strength coach before we approved it, because this is gonna have a huge impact on how he operates the weight room. So I prefer to table this and bring it back next month for approval after he's been included in this plan.
What about the rest of the board?
Was Scott involved in the development of this?
Yes.
And Scott is that individual supervisor, essentially.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who he needed to involve.
Ryan Flynn, our strength
Athletic
coach.
trainer.
In this regard, he's in his role as strength coach for the school, so not necessarily for his athletic training involvement, but he's in the weight room more than anybody and has developed a program for the kids, and I would hate to see this negatively impact the work that he's done. I just want to make sure that we get his input for this plan before it's put in place. Because I don't want him to catch this and say, well, the board already approved it, so we're doing it. I'd rather him be involved in the development of it.
I don't see a harm in waiting a month. I really don't. If we want to dot our i's and cross our t's and make sure, I don't have a problem waiting a month.
Could we possibly approve it pending his input into it? And if he has some concerns, have it tabled until then?
I prefer to table it until then.
I'm
Okay.
okay tabling it for a month.
I'll make a motion to table this initiative until next month.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion, a second, to table the approval of the public access to the fitness center. Any further discussion?
Sure. Can I amend your motion to add after discussion with Ryan Flynn?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Is that who you're talking about?
Yes.
David Ryan?
Okay,
I'm okay with that.
any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll table it till after that, then. Okay, Wendell? Okay, strategic plan calendar?
Okay, this was also in your board packet. This outlines basically everything that we have planned for the strategic plan for the course of this year. So it outlines the work. A couple things that I would just point out to highlight would be, you'll see stoplight sessions scheduled. First one starting in October, so at the October board meeting. These stoplight sessions will include updates, so they come after we have had our first round of interim assessments given, and we can pull some data and start to look at where we are in relation to the goals that we have set. And basically what happens from there is that's where our strategies are are reanalyzed, and if we're on track, we obviously maintain what we're doing, and if there's things that need additional attention, we're able to meet as a team and make those accommodations mid-year. So you'll see 3 of those stoplight sessions. There's one in October, there's one at the mid-year, the session would be at March 14th, and then the last session would be basically when we present our cards to close out the year.
Okay. Any questions on the strategic planning calendar? Okay. Board referrals, two items that is the regional fall meeting and then the state convention. I think the fall meeting's in October, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
13th.
October 13th. So I have heard from some of you that have emailed me back, but if there's anybody else who would like to go, please let Colleen know, and we will make the reservations, make sure everybody's signed up. And then along with that, after we finish up here too, if you could just let Colleen know if any of you are interested in the state convention, which is in January. I don't have the dates right offhand, but I know they've been sending emails for that.
18th to the 20th.
Yeah, 18th, that is correct, 18th to the 20th. So the room block has opened up, so we can start to reserve rooms for anybody who's interested.
Okay. So if you're interested in those, attending those meetings, please let Colleen know. Okay. Anything else for board referrals? Anything else? Okay, then entertain a motion to adjourn the September meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.